There are a lot of people that have a lot of feelings around this 250th anniversary, but what you wrote in The Nation is just so amazing. You talk about how you had a green card because you got married, which offered you a green card, and you were in a fellowship in India, and you gave birth prematurely to your daughter. And you write, her life was paramount, even if it meant I might lose my green card. Thanks to incredible advocacy from my institute, a deal was cut with the U.S. Embassy to restore my green card, but there was a catch. The years I had spent qualifying for citizenship would be erased from the record. I would have to start from scratch. I didn't care. It allowed me to not be separated from my daughter and to return to the U.S. once she was stable enough to fly. You note that that terrifying ordeal made you even more determined to become a U.S. citizen, so you would never again face the prospect of being separated from your family. I encourage people to read it. You talk about the day you became a naturalized citizen. You took the oath, tears streamed down your face. You are actually now the first naturalized citizen to serve as the ranking member of the Immigration Subcommittee of the House Judiciary Committee. Such a contrast to the story that Freedom 250 is trying to tell about this country. I feel like your story is uniquely America 250.
It really is. And, you know, it took me 17 years to become a U.S. citizen. And I get emotional when I think about it every day because my parents sent me here at 16 years old by myself because they believed that America was the best country in the world. They actually believed that this was the place I was going to have the most opportunity. And when I took that oath, I remember holding my hand up, and I was in this sea of people who had come from all over the world, many who had had much more difficult journeys than mine, and I thought mine was challenging, much more difficult, had sacrificed so much. And we all stood there, and I'm getting chills, and I'm going to get emotional talking about it. We all stood there because we felt so proud. We felt so proud that we had made it here. We felt so proud of the promise that is America. And so even though I disagree with everything that this administration is about, I am celebrating this birthday. And I will be in front of a whole group of hundreds of hundreds of people who are going to be naturalized, speaking to them as a naturalized citizen, one of only just a couple dozen in Congress, to say that our duty is not to come into a perfect country. It is about a country that had the vision of ideals and values that it was going to put forward and that it was going to work to. And every single one of us is a part of making that happen. That promise that I held my hand up to is still just as real today, despite Donald Trump, maybe in fact because of Donald Trump. It is more important that we fight for that. And so it's really heartbreaking for me to see what this Trump celebration has turned into. It's not a celebration of America, as you said. It is very much about him. It is not about the country that we have built and that we are building, and that was the promise that we're working towards. So I'm proud to be an American, very proud and very lucky. I feel very lucky, and I feel a huge responsibility to pay it forward and to make sure that other people have opportunity, not just those who are coming here, but those who are here who also have been working for that more perfect union.
When I was a young boy, my father took me to a nationalization ceremony, naturalization ceremony, excuse me, and it was, I still get choked up thinking about it. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, just because of how grateful people were, but also you see an entire generation moving to find their own version of the American dream. This week, birthright citizenship came one vote away from losing it. An entire generation of children becoming stateless, essentially. We hear the administration now saying we're going to go after birth tourism. You lived it very personally, what Simone just read so eloquently. When we now fear, I think Michael brought this up the other day, there's a fear now where birthright citizenship appears to be the new Roe v. Wade. It appears that this has become a litmus test now for the conservative cause. How dangerous is that for the future of America?
It's incredibly dangerous. And look, I had conflicting feelings about the Supreme Court decision. On the one hand, I was thrilled that we got a 6-3 decision. But on the other hand, if you look at Kavanaugh's, what he wrote, his opinion, it's really a 5-4 decision, because he was not affirming the constitutional value of birthright citizenship, which I never thought would be at issue. And so I think we are really at risk here of completely disassembling the American project, because we are unique in so many ways. We have an identity that is tied to immigration in a way that no other country in the world has. Literally no other country was built on people coming from other places, willingly and unwillingly, but to this place where they could build a new tomorrow. And with a set of ideals that were about escaping a monarchy, escaping, you know, all kinds of brutality that prevented people from having freedom. And this project of birthright citizenship, you know, it is the same part of the conversation that is about making America very white, very right-wing, and in service to a king. And I think that they don't want people like me here. I think that's very clear with the immigration policy, with the mass deportation policy, with the way in which they're only allowing you know, white Afrikaners into the country now as refugees. So it's all part of the same story. And I think birthright citizenship is going to be one of the principles that they continue to push as a right-wing party.
Not only do they not want members of Congress, they don't want nurses, they don't want bus drivers, they don't want anybody.
Right.
It's scary.
And this country would collapse,
it would.
by the way, without
we don't
any
have, there's not enough real American births to sustain everything it needs for the economy to roar.
You know, Congresswoman, I have come to admire you over the years, and you know, there were times back in the day where I would go, oh!
You were the chair of the RNC, and I was just an activist on the outside.
Like, what is she doing? I remember your race well. I remember well. But in this moment, as we all come around this table and tables across America to celebrate the 250th birthday of this nation, I listened to your words at the beginning, and I just want to just put on the table and hopefully in the hearts of the American people who are watching this conversation. There's nothing partisan about this moment in our history.
No.
It shouldn't be. This is the time when we should all kind of, you know, set that aside for unification of who we are. So when you stood there as a young woman, given everything you went through, and raised your hand, that would many years later, you would do the same thing as a member of the United States Congress. I just want people to remind.
I got chills just
be reminded.
you connected those dots
It's
right
just,
there.
it is the moment.
Right?
It was
that is
the moment.
Did you know you were going to be a member of Congress?
No,
No
she did
idea.
not.
No
she was worried
idea.
about
American
her newborn
dream.
child. She
No
was
idea.
doing so many other things, and yet the pathway this country sets in front of us is one that begins with we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union.
Yes.
Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. That's what you did. That's what you do. And that's what every immigrant who comes to this country does. And it is so disheartening in this hour that Donald Trump and his administration don't get that. In America, we have to help them understand why these words still matter. And here's a living example in this member of Congress of why these words matter.
Now, we're going to have to go in a second, but I do think it's important to note, like, to Michael's point, the we, when it was written, didn't include anybody at this table.
That's right.
But
That's
it
right.
was the people that pushed to expand the we.
And we have an opportunity to continue to embrace what this country is supposed to be about. And so even as I'm not going to his celebrations, I'm going to do my own set of celebrations with those people from all over the world who are going to become U.S. citizens and are going to see and embrace in some ways the American promise just as much as, sometimes even more than, people who were born here and didn't necessarily have to make that journey. And so I think that, you know, this is an opportunity for us all to come together and to celebrate the promise of America, not Donald Trump, because everything Donald Trump does is about Donald Trump. It's not about the country. And we have an opportunity to celebrate the birth of this nation.